defense in a court of law.
Which specific laws did he break?
In New York, we have laws against business fraud. We have laws against consumer fraud. We have a law against running an illegal, unlicensed university. This never was a university. The fraud started with the name of the organization, and you can't just go around saying this is the George Stephanopoulos Law Firm Hospital University without actually qualifying and registering. So it was really a fraud from beginning to end.
That the New York AG, Eric Schneiderman, he's pretty clear about his case against Trump University. We've talked about that, but that's just one of the suits against the Donald so-called university. Class action suit in California. That's been getting the most attention, not just because of the facts of the case, because that's the one with the judge, who, by the way, is from Indiana, who Trump keeps saying, and he's yet to apologize for, Trump keeps saying he's Mexican and he's not qualified to fairly judge the case. I don't think we'll have time to even rehash that mess. But there are two cases you may not have heard of, but I think they're even more seismic than anything we've heard to this point. In Florida and Texas, they're parts of the story. Woman on your screen here. The Attorney General from Florida and the Associated Press is saying that she personally solicited a political contribution from Trump, then coincidentally decided not to pursue a fraud case against Trump University. Trump, coincidentally, donated $25,000 to Pam Biondi. And this thing also has tentacles in Texas. In 2010, then Attorney General Greg Abbott, he's now the governor of Texas, by the way, opened a fraud investigation into the school. The AG reportedly believed that he had a strong case to sue as people were bilked out of millions of dollars. But the case was dropped, people within the office shocked, and Trump, well, you pulled up stakes out of Texas and got out. Oh, by the way, Trump donated $35,000 to Abbott's gubernatorial campaign 3 years after the case was dropped. I don't know how the line goes. Coincidence? I think not. Anyway, let's bring in our panel right now. Jim Koutsouras is a criminal defense attorney in Manhattan, sitting on the board of directors of the New York City Criminal Bar Association. He also frequently lectures at New York Law School, bar associations in Queens, in New York City, and in Birmingham, England. Doug Von Oist, founding partner of Carson Von Oist, focusing on corporate misconduct, selected by the Legal 500 as one of the most influential trial lawyers in the nation. He's kind enough to grace us with his presence tonight. And Mark Furnish, late arriving as always, professor of Brooklyn Law. He's argued before the U.S. Supreme Court, and I like to say SCOTUS. All right, first off, the Attorney General, I'm stating the obvious, but is the highest law enforcement official of a state. It shocks me, maybe. A couple of you guys were former, prosecutors. The idea that an AG is actively soliciting a political contribution from somebody under investigation, either current or just prior, is shocking to me. Does it surprise you guys or no?
It surprises me that they're all admitting it, to tell you the truth. Does it surprise me? Well, you talk about quid pro quo. It was Trump who said, candidly, almost proudly, yeah, you're damn right. I give them money and they do things for me. And I expect, and I don't blame them, I expect when I give you money that you're going to do something for me when I make a political contribution.
But an attorney general.
But the point is that they're all admitting it. It's right there. The investigation was ongoing. The complaints were there. And almost at the same time, I mean, at least in Texas, the $35,000 came 3 years later. Yeah. Here it's almost contemporaneous. So optically, it looks horrible. Absolutely horrible.
But I'm the babe in the woods, Doug. But the idea is you have a whole office, the Attorney General's office. It's a public case. Trump University, big name, everybody knows it, big gold, bold letters. People within the office say, we've got a really strong case here. Easy to figure out. Little old ladies, poor people maxing out 3 credit cards. They get hosed on this Fakakta University. Yeah, you like how I did that, Mark? And pretty close.
Anyway. It's better than a lot of Jews speak.
Yeah, thank you. I'm trying.
It's pretty good.
Go ahead.
Just don't say tuckus.
See, you had to go there. So anyway, and there's so many more you shouldn't say. But my point is, everybody gets it. And then magically, never mind.
But you say everybody gets it, but you got to remember the Attorney General of a state it's a huge office. and she is the political part of that office. She's an elected official. You've talked about it a million times, and I've listened to you. Politicians need to raise money. That's what they do. And so she was raising money from a very wealthy man. Whether she directly knew that there was an investigation
She
going.
had to know.
Well, you say
She's
she
on
had
record
to
as
know.
saying, no, this much I do know, Doug. How intimately involved she was in the case, I'm not making any pretenses. But she spoke publicly about the case that was within her office. The assistant AGs at the time said, we have a very strong case here in Florida, and they had chapter and verse about people that allegedly were very harmed by the case. People were really surprised when the case was dropped. And she then has the audacity and the idiocy, apparently, with emails to say, hey, I'd love to have a contribution from you. If you can't trust the AG, who can you trust?
It's a very high-profile potential defendant, and so I tell you the truth, I'd be surprised if she didn't know. I mean, if it were somebody a lot lower level, then you could say that she would know. But I mean, this is pretty high-profile.
Here's the thing: Doug really hit on the most important point, that these are elected officials, and fundraising is part of the job. And as we've talked about on the show many, many times.
I'll let you finish, Mark, though.
Sure.
But isn't there a difference between if I'm a city councilman and I'm an attorney general? Not only the optics, but the reality. I should be beyond reproach if I'm an attorney general in terms of I'm to pursue the law to its fullest extent and to pursue justice. A city councilman.
That's a matter of ethics, and I agree with you. But the fact of the matter is the law is the same for any elected official. And the Supreme Court says there has to be, because fundraising is permissible activity under the First Amendment, there has to be a heightened showing of an express quid pro quo
Okay,
agreement.
I have a second question.
X for Y in order to convict
I never
criminally.
suggested it's going to be easy to prove a quid pro quo,
Express quid pro quo.
except to be an attorney general,
Yes.
you're a member of the state bar, and there's ethics.
There's no question that it could be actionable in a disciplinary form or an ethical complaint or have ramifications for the license. And it could have ramifications at the polls. Ideally, that's the way it should have ramifications. But criminal.
But how about, Mark?
Yes.
You're one of those Florida residents, or Texas residents for that matter.
Yep.
And you.
If you
I
think
don't
it,
even get into
if you
the
think
merits
it
of the
smells,
case.
if you think it
harmed.
smells, vote the bums out of office.
But how about
That's the way it
forgetting
is.
about voting? Shouldn't I trust that the AG's office is looking out for me?
You should trust that. First of all, you know, Trump likes to say, as Jimmy pointed out, he gives to everybody on both sides of the aisle. He's sort of an equal opportunity giver, and that's to be expected from a high-profile businessman. You know, there's a lot of smoke here. Maybe there's fire, maybe there isn't. Did it break any
Listen,
federal laws? We don't know.
I am not a babe in
answer
the
is-
woods, but the idea that you can buy an AG, even
Listen,
I am shocked by that.
You cannot say that he bought an AG fairly in the absence of proof that there's an express quid pro quo agreement, because that's, for better or worse, part of our system politically, the campaign
I'm
finance
sorry.
system.
It
It's part of the
doesn't-
system.
The idea, if I'm harmed, that magically the case gets dropped while the office internally all said they had a strong
Listen,
case,
then-
and then all of a sudden she gets a check for 35G. My BS detector is beeping very
And if
loudly.
it's still timely, then the feds will bring a federal
Listen,
corruption
I've only
case
got a
against
minute
him.
here on this one. We've talked about this before. Not all of you were with me last week when we got into it, but he still is yet to say sorry for what he said about that judge. And I just wanted to get you guys, I've talked to the political aspects of it, but the idea that people can pick and choose. So let me get this. If I said anti-Semitic remarks, I'll decide that a Jewish judge can't sit and judge me on the case here. If he believes that he said harmful remarks, which he has about blacks, that they can't sit and judge him. Muslims, he's already been asked directly, says they can't. Latinos, because he wants to build a wall, they can't. What is going on here?
It's disgraceful is what's going on, and it's very dangerous, because here is somebody who wants to be president of the United States, and you start thinking to yourself, what if the Supreme Court rules in a way that's against what his administration wants, and so on and so forth. It's ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous.
I'm heavy here, guys, but is there something that, to the non-attorney out there, they haven't figured just how far-reaching this could be if he was able to basically...
Listen, he has no legal leg to stand on, and there's no basis for recusing the judge, and he certainly shouldn't have said what he said. But let's put
There's
things,
also a constitutional
but
aspect to
let's
this.
put things in perspective for just 1 second. Nobody in the media has said this. 1996, Bill Clinton, from the actual bully pulpit, of the Oval Office bullied federal judge Harold Baer
right.
in the Southern District of New York in Manhattan into actually changing a pro-defense suppression ruling that he did not like, Bill Clinton. So that's a much more egregious offense, actually abusing official power than making blowhard statements as a candidate.
A blowhard statement.
Blowhard statements as a candidate.
By the way,
Inappropriate blowhard
two people
statements.
left
Yep.
to be the commander-in-chief, and somebody is deciding by people's race, timeout,
Yep.
religion,
Yep.
or ethnicity who is and is allowed to wear a robe. And by the way,
No, the
because
Congress
your
has a veto
your
power
parent,
over that.
Your parent, that we would even have to go down there.
Counted
'Cause
against
where your
him.
parent
Counted
came
as
from.
a strike against him, no doubt about it, but put it
All
in
right,
perspective.
I want to save time for this next one here. Up next, a guy convicted of rape at Stanford University. The judge hands down just a 6-month sentence. The convicted rapist's dad says even that's too much. Wait till you hear the twisted reasoning. Now the father and the judge under fire. This one is heated.